How many of you find yourself doing quirky things while playing your favorite games? I'm not talking about leveling up or questing or any of the normal stuff. I'm talking about abusing the character creator to make your character look like a physically abused alien with unnatural body parts. Or searching for Easter eggs or jumping puzzles because maybe, just maybe, the developers had an imagination. Today I want to explore these quirky forms of gameplay, and you guys let me know in the comments how many of you can relate. Also, please consider subscribing to the channel for more game-related videos several times per week. Friends and fellow gamers, welcome back. My name is Roger, and today we're talking about those quirky things we all do while playing our favorite games. I used to have this friend back in the 90s. Whenever we'd play a game, he would constantly save the game. After every fight, he would save the game. Sometimes he would forget that he just saved the game and then he would save it again. Years later, finally somebody came out with a thing called autosave. And you know what? He would say to himself, what if the power goes out? And then he would save the game. But let's face it, there's hundreds of quirky little things that we all do while playing our favorite games. Maybe you're one of those people that plays a stealth mission, and every time you get discovered, you have to start the mission over again. How many of you, while playing your favorite RPG, get to the last boss and refuse to use a healing potion even though you have 15 of them? It's extremely important that you realize, that we all realize, we are not alone in these quirky things. It's something that we all do to an extent, don't we? Let's go over some of them. How many of you, when going through a zone, have to kill every single monster, and even if you think you missed one, you have to go back all the way through the zone and make sure that you didn't miss one? You tell yourself, what if that one little monster is gonna drop that item I really want? Or you just can't stand the thought that there might be a little monster still lurking in these halls that you might have missed. Alright, you know how in Diablo or Zelda or many other games, you can walk up to pots or boxes or lights or barrels and break them and sometimes loot comes out? Let's face it, most of the time stuff doesn't come out. But you know what? That doesn't stop you from breaking every single one and going out of your way to break every single thing imaginable. You know, the problem is that this happens in some games, and the madness carries over and forever, and from now on until the end of time, you're now stuck breaking every single item because maybe, just maybe, there could be a legendary sword in that trash can. How many of you be standing at the mining node waiting for it to respawn even though there's a million trees right next to you that could be cut down? How many of you are reloading that gun even though you only fired one shot? How many of you are checking your map every 3 seconds just because maybe you suddenly changed directions, so you check the map again? And when you're playing that game that has that interaction button, and you use it on everything, the tables, the lamps, the chairs, dressers, the dog, the photos of the plants, just to see if anything happens. But Roger, I've never done any of these things and I have no idea what you're talking about. It's okay. It's okay. How many of you prepare for hours or even days for a boss fight that's gonna last a minute and 45 seconds? How many of you shoot everything in sight just to see if you can put holes in it? How many of you ignore the recommended weapon that the game tells you to use and max out the one you want to use even though it takes you twice as long to kill that boss? How many of you try to match the walking speed of the NPC when they're talking to you during a cutscene? How many of you see a car, get in, then see pedestrians and say to yourself, people gonna die today? How many of you shoot that red barrel even though there are no enemies nearby because you killed them all already? How many of you fail that escort quest because you just don't have the patience to wait for that slow ass NPC? Wouldn't it make more sense to have, like, let's see if this guy's ready for me this time. Let's see if he freaking chases me down this time. How many of you hold on to every single item you come across because you think maybe, just maybe, you might need it later? You're afraid to sell anything just because maybe that worn shoe might be part of a quest later on. Oh god, he's coming for me. Run for it, Marty! This is the most fun I've had in this game yet. Apparently, you can't catch somebody if they just keep running. Oh my god, this is freaking hilarious! Oh no! Oh no! Oh my goodness, this is freaking hilarious! Oh my goodness, it's freaking so funny! How many of you kill everything in your path, whether it's neutral, good, or evil? Alright, let's see if he gets second chase around the island for an hour and a half with a sword. Can I snare this guy? Because that would be freaking hilarious. Oh god, oh god. Look out, Marty, look out. Oh man, that's gonna suck if he never stops chasing me. How many of you start your side-scrolling platform by going backwards first? How many of you hit that sprint button even though you're on a carry quest and you know that you can't go any faster? How many of you press A to start? A. How many of you want to get up to the roof just because the developers don't want you up on the roof? How many of you get the fall damage achievement in every game you play? Now I know some of you are still telling yourself, I don't do any of these things, and how dare he accuse me of doing such terrible OCD. Man, did I check my mailbox today? Let me go check my mailbox. How many of you have to reveal every inch of every map you encounter? How many of you keep every key you find even though the quest is over and you've been hoarding it with you for years? How many of you keep smashing on that sprint button even though you ran out of stamina 2 hours ago and you refuse to let the bar fill up? How many of you absolutely have to stand in that fire in every single game you play just to see if it burns you? How many of you remember exactly how to get somewhere even though you haven't played that game in years, and you go through your real life wondering, is there anybody else out there that remembers exactly how to get to that place and stores all that great needless information in their brain? How many of you skip the dialogue based on the NPC's first sentence? How many of you are the ones using a sniper rifle on every single map even though it's terrible? How many of you are checking behind every single waterfall to see if there's something back there? How many of you are the ones that flag up after you're done with your group to kill the most annoying person that was in your group? How many of you are the ones that rage quit a guild because of one person? How many of you are the ones killing those rats just because they're in front of you and they're rats? At the end of the day, are these quirky things weird, or are they the very definition of what makes a true gamer? Friends and fellow gamers, I leave that up to you. On the way out, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give me a big thumbs up for the video. I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys being here. My name's Roger, and I'll see you on the next adventure. Take care of yourself, everyone.